I spoke too soon when I noted I hadn't experienced it yet. The heavy darkness of Lent has finally come on this fourth Sunday of the Lenten season. I have come to expect that darkness during this season. I do not mean that I am unhappy. I have been very joyous. I wish to relate a personal history, personal life experiences, and I hope to shed light on how this relates to a larger picture. My sister always called me her best friend. I took care of her when she was a baby. When I was a child and our mother left us alone for days to party. Sometimes strangers were in her house. When my mother physically attacked my sister unprovoked when I was in my 20s, I restrained my mother by myself. I didn't condone violence toward my mother, but my sister ignored my admonitions. I did not permit mother to hurt my sister. Multiple family members abused me. I always protected my siblings from the time we were very young. I even protected my mother, but she physically attacked and abused me more than anyone else. When the abuse came to a certain point, I went to live with other relatives and they abused me too. They also failed to protect my sister. I was from childhood extremely devout, very religious. By 13 years of age, I must have read most of the Bible a dozen times or more, and the entirety of it at least a few times. I experienced trances, including ecstasies from 10 years old, but others I experienced were dark and left me with awful headaches the next day. Sometimes I couldn't remember the trance state or only partially and vaguely recalled it. Though I was devout, my mother and other relatives, who were not much religious at all, told me often I'd burn in hell. They told my very young sister that I was demon-possessed repeatedly for years. I endured and saw terrible things. Some of them I cannot remember, or only recalled in flashbacks years later, but in some instances, what I recalled was admitted by others to be true. One thing I still don't recall, but someone told me. One of the relatives I lived with after they removed me from my mother's home subjected me to horrible, homophobic, and sexist abuse all my life, till I cut off contact in my early adulthood. She subjected me to rage-tinged rantings that my nature was an abomination, and that we must vote in Bush Jr. to constitutionally outlaw same-sex marriages and repress all LGBTQ+ expressions by the state. She told me that individuals who bombed abortion clinics were doing righteous deeds. Now, before I continue, bear in mind that not all Republican voters today or in the past are so revolting and vile as this person. Good people vary widely on many issues, political and otherwise. But the Republican Party then as now draws a significant portion of its voter base by promoting hatred and violence towards disproportionately vulnerable populations, and we see the rotten fruit of this violence increasing to the point that if it is not stopped, I fear society will reach a turning point from which there is no return. And I further add that it wasn't only such family members that subjected me to violence in response to Republican rhetoric on gay people. This was something I experienced broadly in school and elsewhere from people I was not related to as well. And I add that what we're seeing today is not new. This rot goes back at least 50 years, and the Republican Party and the Democratic Party has been in many ways for decades at fault and even complicit in their failure to address this rot. and much of it even goes back to the very genocidal founding of this nation and its brutal history. My dear sister, my only ally all my life, who defended me to abusers and understood and articulated very well the wrongfulness and unreasonableness of homophobia, embraced this MAGA movement, and the last time I saw her, she subjected me to violence. Her spouse physically threatened me and came toward me, forcing me to walk over large rocks in the driveway with no shoes. He had always loved me and been so kind and gentle. But my sister egged it on, and this all erupted after my young niece spontaneously said that I was a boy girl, and my sister assumed that I was teaching LGBTQ concepts to her young children, but I wasn't. She was simply making her own observations, using her own words at her young age. But do not think that my political views and involvement are solely due to such experiences. Many people are speaking out of similarly painful experiences, especially with the rise of this violent MAGA movement. Some people I knew who were so gentle and kind have become warped into monsters, as it were. And we are all vulnerable to that if only the right buttons in our psyche are pushed. So we must keep watch and not fall asleep. Our personal experiences are not only personal, they're also political. Again, I affirm that there are good people across the political spectrum and from all walks of life. But the revolution occurring in the government of the United States and North America is a threat to all kinds of peoples and lifestyles, including conservatives and Christians. This violence did not start yesterday. The roots run deep. The MAGA movement is a symptom of problems that already existed and is largely just a green light for many people to do what they've been wanting to do for a long time. There is less and less excuse today to continue to support the Republican Party as a whole. Its ideology of white supremacy, its subjugation of women, its promotion of lies and hate and violence is now very clear for everyone to see. Aspects of what I say here are personal, but there's a greater relevance to the wider picture unfolding today. Not everyone has the same means or abilities, but most anyone can make a small effort to resist these forces, even if only with little acts of kindness and caring, especially to the most vulnerable among us, and yes, that does include trans folk and trans children. To fail to even perform such small acts is an example of the cardinal sin of sloth, and sloth has catastrophic consequences, as we have seen in the past and as we are seeing today. Let us not be slothful. I am my neighbor's keeper, as are you, or so we ought to be.